All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live here on Virtual Racing Network once again for another Super Speedway series. As we are getting a few pokes here, but we want to get to the sponsors here. But give us just about 30 seconds. We're going to take care of this real quick, and we will be right back. All right, so we are back here, ladies and gentlemen. It's a little behind here, but we're going to go ahead and get to the sponsors here for tonight's race, and of course here for the broadcast. As always, carkeepers.com. We want to give a big shout out to them. If you have a car and you just don't have the time to maintenance it, or you just don't know how to maintenance it, you can go to carkeepers.com and they will send somebody to you to maintenance that car for you. So again, if you just don't have time or the know-how, you can have someone do it for you. That is definitely a great way to keep all that hassle and headache out of maintaining your car. On the broadcast side of things, we have a few partners we need to mention. As always, starting with Walls Beard Co. and Beard Balm, all natural and organic product. Definitely a must if you have a beard, so make sure you check them out. Again, all natural and organic, and different scents to pick from as well. You can pick up that product over at wallsbeardco.com. SimSpeedShop.com, your one-stop shop for custom-made button boxes and e-brakes. So if you are an iRacer, these are a must for any iRacer. So head on over to SimSpeedShop.com. Those button boxes are customizable to just about any button on iRacing. So definitely go over there and check them out. Northwest Racing Series. Not only do we cover their series here on Monday night and now Wednesday night, you can also notice them. They will be on the one to go banner that comes across there. We're losing our words here. So every white flag is presented by Northwest Racing Series. And again, make sure to stay tuned here on Virtual Racing Network for their racing series as well. Ohio IndyCar League. If you're looking to get into some IndyCar racing, there is no better place to do so than Ohio IndyCar League. Check them out at facebook.com/Ohio IndyCar League for all the latest information. ibog.co, that is iBog Racing, or Broadcast Overlay Graphics, your sim race broadcast graphics source. Eventually we will get it out here tonight. If you are looking to get into broadcasting or just need some overlays for streaming iRacing races, you can get hooked up over there at ibog.co. Just contact Jason Allison. And we'll see if we have time for a pre-race show. That is coming up here shortly. If not, the post-race show will be brought to you by Randy's Wraps. If you're looking for a really nice paint job for a really great price, you can head on over there and check out Randy's Wraps on Facebook. That being said, it is time, of course, once again to introduce our second chair for the night, and that is the man who really needs no introduction at this point, and that is Jeff Stabnell. So, Jeff, welcome to the booth once again here on a Friday night.
Hey, Charles, man, how's it going? I'm so happy to be here. Ready for a little bit of Talladega 3-wide super speedway racing tonight.
It definitely is going to be some great racing here. It always is, and it looks like I thought we were going to be a little low on cars, but it looks like more drivers are coming in here very quickly here. And why we were a little late there, I had to check something out. So we were getting messages from league owner Mitch Beaver wanting us to get to his car and show it off, and I don't see him here in practice unless I am just blind. I do not see him. He's not on the track right now.
He just loaded in the 25 car there, Charles.
So we're getting stuff there. A friend of his is wanting to see his car, so there might be something special on that car here tonight. So we are going to wait for him to go out there, and then we'll check out that car. Unfortunately, wanted a 360 view, but we just do not have a 360 camera. We can get as close as we can with TV1, but unfortunately we do not have the ability to circle around the car 360. So that is unfortunate. Maybe one day we'll have that ability, but tonight is not one of them. While we're waiting on him to get onto the track, though, we'll pull up our pre-race analyst here. Is a 9-mile-per-hour wind out of the east. It's not too gusty, but still I think should be a fairly strong wind. 84-degree track temp, but as we know, that will go up.
Yeah, and it's not going to matter here. We got loads of grip, so we've got a pretty cloudy track here. 76 degrees out with 84 degrees of track temperature. What that means is track's just not going to get slick at us. We can probably go longer than a field run on tires if we need to. Certainly we can make a field run, but 2 tires are definitely a viable option here, and there's some circumstance where you probably even go with no tires and not risk a whole lot there.
Yeah, we'll do as usual here. It depends on what track. It's either 75 or 80. It is 75 laps here, 200 miles at Talladega Super Speedway, 55 miles per hour on pit road. So it's going to be a very, I wouldn't say long night. Cautions, if we have any, are going to take forever. But as far as the racing goes, 75 laps seems like a lot, but if they start ticking away laps here, it could go by fairly quickly. Not going to say it's going to be fast, but depending on how many cautions, it could be a pretty quick night.
Well, we got a lower car count than we normally have here. I think we're looking, and they keep jumping in, so that could change. It's changing by the minute, but right now we've got about 20 cars in here, compared to 30-plus cars, on a lot of these nights. So just having less cars out there on a chance, there's a better chance we'll get spread out and have some long green flag runs here. So, that could affect some strategy. You got some guys looking at the odds of cautions, and you're more likely to get them with 35 laps, and you'll race a little bit different knowing that you got cautions coming, or with 35 cars. And then when you got 20 cars out there, then, you got to think about maybe worry about getting too far back and thinking you're going to catch a caution and catch up.
Yeah, you definitely have to. So, so many things can happen here at Talladega. That is why it is called Talladega here, and still waiting on Mitch to hit the track. He has not yet. But we do have 7 minutes up here. Because this is a chase, we don't have the point standings up on the screen. However, we are going to go over those point standings with you real quick. So we're going to go focus on the top 10 right now. Or, sorry, top 8, really, is that's where the chase is. Everyone else is going to be battling, and we will look at those periodically and see where they are. But your top 8 drivers coming into tonight's race in this order, starting in first, and how many points they have, that is Justin Levine. It says 1,002 for us. That's actually 1,003. They couldn't edit that, so that should be 1,003 points. Just so you know, too, as well, Jeff. Chase Galvin, who I don't see here tonight, is probably going to miss the race, 1,001 points. And he's actually tied with Daniel Holloway for third with 1,001 points. And then beyond them, you go to Gary Champion, Daniel Harrington, Daniel Jackson, Jeffrey Meyer, and Brandon Wilson, 1,000 points each. Those guys are actually tied for 4th place. So coming into this race, we have a 5-way tie for 4th place.
Oh, well, with 3 points separating 3rd from 8, obviously we had a points reset here and just added some bonus points. So for all intents and purposes, we're tied anyways. Super speedway racing, as easy it is to have a bad night. The bonus points in a super speedway league probably going to have a little less meaning than they would in another league. So, we pretty much have an 8-way tie here for 1st place, or close enough.
Yeah, definitely close enough. And again, depending on how your luck goes, and that's the other thing. You talk about, you know, there is a lot of skill involved in super speedway racing. You don't talk about it. You think, oh, it's all about luck. It is a lot about luck, but I think it's a lot about skill too. You can either be lucky or unlucky depending on how much skill you use to get to where you need to be. Some people use their skill of starting in the back to avoid the stuff. Some people are really good at avoiding wrecks and start in the front. And then the other flip side of that is luck. Sometimes there is just nothing you can do to avoid the big wreck, and it just happens. So luck and skill both play into a race like this. As to which percentage to which one, well, that's where people can get into an argument about.
Well, there's a reason we tend to see the same guys in the front of super speedway races time and time again. It's not like a random draw and just pick some random name and he's going to win. That's just not how it works. You're absolutely right. There's a lot of skill in super speedway racing. I think the way I look at it is just all about a series of decisions. And when you're out there racing, it's kind of risk versus reward. You're always kind of weighing what's the upside if I make this move and what's the downside if I make it potentially. At another track where you're spread out and you're not running right on somebody's bumper and having somebody right on your door, there's a lot less downside. So, making a move and doing the things, there's a whole lot more reward and a whole lot less risk. Whereas, here at the super speedway, that's almost flipped. And so, I don't know that I would say bad luck gets you so much as decisions have much, much bigger consequences when they don't work out at the super speedway. So it's hard to make a little mistake at the super speedway. Mistakes tend to be big. And so when we say super speedway and you could finish at the back as easy as you can finish at the front, well, that's just more of a, I guess I would call it just kind of more of a consequence thing. I mean, you pay for your mistakes at a super speedway, which is part of what makes watching this league and calling these races so fun.
Yeah, it really does. And, we talk about this every week, so we're going to bring it up again. The 3-wide rule. There is no 3-wide rule here because this track is so wide. They can go 3 wide here. And, my pick, Chris Akers, isn't here tonight, so I don't know who I'm going to pick to go 3 wide, but I see Chase Galvin and Dan Harrington have made it. And here they are in the chase. I didn't know if they were going to. But again, my pick for the 3 wide, the first person to go 3 wide, isn't here, so I'm kind of at a loss as to who I'm going to pick.
Well, I'm going to pick. I don't know who I'm going to pick. It's going to happen. Obviously, I think we both always look at that Reese's truck to get things started there on the 3 wide, but. Daniel Holloway's not afraid to take it 3 wide on us either. So if we're going to pick one, I might pick him as my first 3 wide pick tonight.
Well, I got him. I'm going to go. I just don't know. I'm going to go with someone who's on the same team. I'm going to go with the 71 of Daniel Jackson. So we'll go with 2 Daniels here. And, speaking of picking here, we'll get to that in just a second, actually, as it is time for the national anthem already. So we are going to step away. We will be right back with your national anthem.
We take you down onto the track for our opening ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. Please remove your hats.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen, once again for qualifying. It's happens every single race, so we got to come back to it once again. We're watching Daniel Harrington in the 21. Nobody's put in a time yet. They have to get past that blue cone. Looks like we got about 6 or 7 people out, and this has turned into not a huge field, but a pretty decent field here tonight.
Yeah, they've been kind of trickling in throughout. We started, I think, when we went live, we had about 16 drivers, 15, 16 drivers. And it looks like a lot of work to count them now. So I'm thinking we've probably got somewhere close to 22 to 25 drivers now.
Yeah.
As far as I know, it looks like they're still filing in.
Yeah, it looks like they are. Alexander Russell coming in. You never know. Maybe it was some bad traffic getting these haulers to the racetrack tonight, but definitely some reason they're coming in a little late here. Of course, it is 8 here, so that's 7-6. Depending on where you're at, I know like you, it's around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. So some of these people could just be getting home and getting something to eat and coming in at the last minute, so which is perfectly acceptable. We'll take them late as long as they get here and come race.
Well, and don't forget, we've got some bad weather in some parts of the country. As a matter of fact, I should probably read chat because I think a couple of our regular viewers are from down there, and I don't know if any of them even showed up tonight.
Yeah, it looks like Mike Neal is here. I know earlier he said his chat. Well, I just can't get it together here tonight. He said his front yard looked like a war zone. So at least he's here. That is a good thing, and his house is still standing. So definitely a plus. As Jason Papp is going to take the fastest time, but Daniel Holloway going to take it right back with a 55.461.
Yeah, and I'm just catching up on chat. It looks like we've got Sarah here on the feed too. That's also down there in North Carolina. So, thoughts and prayers with both you, Mike, and Sarah there. And I don't even think I know where Ashley's from. I hope she's not in this mess too.
Yeah, I forgot what state she's from. That's sad, because I talked to her quite a bit, and I don't even remember. So, my apologies, Ashley, as I forgot where she's from. I think she's in that area. I know she's had some pretty big storms, but they weren't the hurricane storms, as she has had some. But Gary Champion right now with a 55.831 sitting in third place. Scott Warren fourth, and Chase Galvin, one of our Chase drivers, sitting at the 55.900 in fifth place. So we got a lot of fast times coming in, and they're just going to get faster.
Well, and some of these guys are just hitting that money lap. Gary Champion takes it to the top of the board, knocking Daniel Holloway down to fifth place now. Scott Warren takes it to second. Chase Galvin bumps up to third. Jason Papp now in fourth. Daniel Holloway in fifth. P.J. O'Leary's in sixth. Jody Burton, Daniel Jackson, Harry Hiller, and Eric Green right now round out our top 10.
They do. And right outside, Eric Green now in 11th place. And we're seeing a lot of red, white, and blue paint jobs here. I want to point some of these out. Daniel Jackson in that Lowe's number 71. Got some red, white, and blue on there. Again, this was the week of September 11th. So, a lot of special paint jobs coming out this week. And it's been a blast to see what all these people have come out with here for this you don't want to call it a holiday, but this special occasion, which was a tragic day in our country, but people are celebrating it here and doing just an honor to the people that died in those in that event.
Well, I'm looking at Mitch Beaver's truck right now, and he does have a very patriotic theme on there all the way around. So definitely, if you could figure out how to get some camera.
The right rear suspension cameras, he's going to stop it there. We'll switch over. Just an outstanding paint job for him, and he's actually going to pull it to a stop, as that's going to do it here for qualifying in general. So we'll get rid of all that stuff off your screen, and not many people are going to take a time, but Harry Tiller is going to be your pole sitter here for the race.
Yeah, Harry Tiller. I don't know that. Sure, just as we say that, my scoring resets, and I'm losing them all. But I'm not sure that we've talked about Harry Tiller a whole lot here in that 112 truck. Is this his first night, Charles, or has he been here and I just haven't paid much attention?
He was here last week, I do believe, so maybe his second, possibly third week. Definitely a newer driver, so somebody you may not have seen too many times before, so that is why you might not recognize the name. But I believe this is his second week
you are
with
correct.
us.
It is his second start, which is why that's a name that we're not used to seeing at the top of the board for qualifying. So, congratulations to Harry Tiller, and way to go there, getting at the top of the board, man.
And speaking of top of the board, we'll go ahead and run through your Walls Beard Co. starting grid. We have 24 drivers here tonight. So, Jeff, you want to run through our first 12 drivers, those first 6 rows?
Can do. Let's see. Starting on the pole tonight, your pole sitter is the 112 car of Harry Tiller. Outside row 1, the 18 car of Gary Champion. In row 2, we've got the 76 of Scott Warren and the 26 of Chase Galvin. In row 3, we've got the 71 of Daniel Jackson and the 83 of Jason Papp. In row 4, we've got the 24 PJ O'Leary and the 63 of Jody Burton. In row 5, we've got the 25 of Mitch Beaver, the 21 of Daniel Holloway, and the 25 of Mitch Beaver rounds out our top 10 there.
In row 6 is going to be the 411 of Eric Green and the 1 of Justin Levine, your first one, not taking a time here tonight. Row 7 is going to be the 50 of Jeff Meyer and the 501 of Brandon Wilson. Row 8 is going to be the 00 of Dwayne Cooper and the 32 of Alexander Russell. Row 9 is going to be the 54 of Randy Post, and not sure what number Jim Walton is in, the 27 of Jim Walton. Row 9. Row 10 is going to be the 82 of Dan Harrington and the 95 of John Lombard. Row 11 is going to be the 14 of David Harp, who I've not seen here before, and the 84 of TJ Buck. It looks like he has got his internet sorted out. And row 12, in 23rd spot, is going to be the 41 of Darren Manning. And I would have thought we had 24 drivers here, only showing 23 on the grid, but there are 24 drivers total in here. However, Dwayne Cooper, Alexander Russell, and Justin Levine not going to be starting the race here with us.
Yeah, and that grid just keeps growing. I'm telling you, I keep resizing it to get rid of the scroll bars here on my timing screens, and every time I look back at it, I got to move everything around again. So I think we had a couple guys enter late here, and so we are going to end up with a pretty good-sized field. Charles, maybe we'll get a few of those cautions back that we talked about maybe missing tonight.
Yeah, we very well could get those back. We'll be waiting to see here what and how everything plays out, as we're going to take a look out here and take a wider angle here so you can see this full field. Again, 20, right at probably 20 drivers going to be starting. Again, I'm not sure why it was only showing 23 on the grid. There are 24 drivers here, but that's null and void. Not really a valid point anyway, because 3 of those are not starting. So we'll see how it all plays out in the end. Again, we talked about it's luck, it's skill. Throw them together, and, well, you have Talladega and Daytona. Tonight we're at Talladega Super Speedway for 75 laps, and it should be a good one. We'll see. Will we have a few cautions, or with the lower car count, will we go green flag all the way? It's Talladega. I think we're going to see at least one caution.
Well, normally, I don't like to predict those things, Charles, but it's just too easy here when we get to these super speedways. I got to say there's at least one caution because it's so rare that we don't get cautions on these super speedway races. So hard to do.
That is true. Green flag is in the air. I think you picked your pick here for the win, so I'm going to go ahead and pick mine. And no, it's not the person in first right now. I'm actually going to go with someone I talk to quite often. I'm going to go with the 21 of Daniel Holloway for my pick here for the win. So we'll see if maybe he can put it in there. Or can the 26 of Chase Galvin put another victory in there?
Well, a couple solid picks that both got wins on this season, so I'm not going to call them exactly underdogs here. I would look at those as a couple of the favorites. Gary Champion, who doesn't have a win, is also on the front row tonight, and he's had a couple solid weeks here the last couple of weeks. So even without a win, watching him run out there on the outside of that row, he's definitely going to be somebody too that we're going to look at because he's figured something out here the last couple of weeks and had some.
Just have a huge battle going on here for first place.
It really is. I mean, I granted there are some points, and if it comes down to a tie, those are more like tiebreaker points. You know, and I'll go back. I like the way I kind of explained it a little bit better, but the mistakes here cost you so dearly here when you make one. It's not a little one. It's a big one. So you know, that's why I say you're kind of virtually tied here. But we've got some pretty good drivers in here who don't necessarily make mistakes every week, and definitely in that point, you know, the tiebreakers could come into play. Absolutely.
They very well could. And we want to apologize real fast here. It's out of our control. We're having some connection issue here to our internet, so hopefully that does sort itself out here shortly. It shouldn't be too big of an issue. Will we see that again here? Right now, Gary Champion is out front, but right behind him is Harry Tiller, so I don't think they're going to do that tonight.
Oh, I think we're going to see plenty of leaders. I think we're going to see, we almost had our first three wide out there, Charles, but looks like somebody tucked back in and thought better of it there, so I'm not sure who that was.
I'm not sure either, and we got Chad in there. Thought it was Mike's weather. It very well could be our weather. It has been rainy and cloudy and just dreary outside lately, even though we are nowhere near the storms. Chase Galvin, and there goes Chase Galvin.
Looked like we were trying to get a three wide going there, and we had a couple cars go off, but somehow it did not bring out the caution. And so we're still going. We got a couple cars there in the grass. We got a couple cars three wide on the track. And the green flag is still out.
It is, and I want to give props to Chase Galvin there. I'm not sure how that all started, but Chase Galvin did a fantastic job of hitting the brakes just enough to actually stay off of Harry Tiller as he was sliding sideways, and he was just going fast enough and braking that truck enough to stay off of him. He could have very easily just spun him around and kept going. He did lose quite a few spots off of it, but he did save damage on his truck, and he also saved that 112 from a lot of damage that he.
I think Chase Galvin just followed the car down in front of him and didn't really see the 112 underneath him there, and just kind of got straight into the side there, it looked like.
Yeah, it definitely did, and yeah, our internet is really bad here tonight as we are trying to hang in there. It looks like it's back up, and Mike's telling me to go adjust the antenna on the roof. Yeah, I'm scared of heights, so that ain't going to happen anytime soon. But we're zoomed in here to these guys, and it has been a great race. Two different leaders so far, and we'll see who's going to lead at the line this time. I think it's going to be the 18 of Gary Champion once again. We'll see the 54 Randy Post right up there as they have not really gone three wide. I know we saw it almost happen a second ago, but overall, not much going on here. So I'm looking at this 24 of PJ O'Leary. He's also got a red, white, and blue paint job going on tonight, and it looks really nice out there.
Yeah, it looks like, you know, across the theme, or league, a lot of these guys are running some sort of red, white, and blue paint job tonight. There's several of them, and you know, we got the 11 out there, the 54 Randy Post, you know, we got the 24, we got Mitch Beaver there, and the 25 that we talked about. There's a couple more a little further back that I haven't had a chance to get the numbers on to see who they are, but I'd say we probably got 6 to 10 patriotic paint jobs out there tonight, which I think is fantastic.
I definitely agree with that. I think we got about that many and some really nice ones. We'll see. It looks like we're going to go three wide here at the front. and it's going to be the 54 of Randy Post that takes it 3 wide. I don't know if he's quite sure he wants to be up there. It looked like he tried to get back down but couldn't, as now he is stuck 3 wide, and he's going to lose about 4 or 5 spots in there.
Yeah, they had a couple guys go out there with them, and then they dropped back down behind, I think that's a 76 there in the outside row, isn't it, Scott Warren? They dropped back down behind him, and, it was pick one. You had Scott Warren and then Randy Post 3 wide, and who do you want to follow right now? And I think they picked Scott Warren.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to go to the front. The question is, will he lead his first lap? I don't think he got it there. I believe it was Champion that led that lap. It was neck and neck, but just not quite enough to lead here. And more quick here, let us know in chat if it's still buffering for you. It looks like it's good on our end. So that very well could be the issue on the other end there with those storms. But looks like we're holding steady here, so definitely let us know if you're still buffering, because I think it's good on our end. But right here, we got a side-by-side battle. I really think, as far as battles go here, Jeff, I really think this is the closest the outside line has been to staying up with that inside line in this entire season.
I don't know. These guys run that outside line pretty solidly here. I know we cover a lot of races, and sometimes I get them mixed up here, but these guys have been pretty solid about the outside line. It's that third line that's sometimes a little hit and miss. So, I'm kind of used to seeing 2 lines here and that outside line moving pretty well. At least last week, I think we saw a lot of guys gain places out there.
Yeah, definitely. It just seems like they're strung together a little bit more to me than they have been in the past. And it very well could be, we do so many leagues here, and maybe that was the Cup cars where they weren't as bunched up here. Maybe it is with the trucks; they're good, as they do alternate on and off. And it looks like somebody's going a lap down. I'm not sure who that is. It's the 84 of TJ Buck going 1 lap down. That definitely stinks for him to go a lap down, but the good news is he does seem to have his internet fixed, as he was blinking out very bad earlier. But definitely got it fixed. But we got, looks like the 24 of PJ O'Leary getting shuffled to the bottom, so I'm not sure what happened to him.
Yeah, I missed that as well. But I have this handy little instant replay button here, so I'll back it up and see if we can't figure it out.
While you do that, we're going to go up to the front here and watch the 76 of Scott Warren leading this. Gary Champion in third now, as Daniel Holloway is going to take second, as they are just back and forth between the lead, second and third place. You never really know who's going to be leading.
Yeah, and I was able to go back there and catch 24, and it looked to me like he just kind of overdrove it coming off the corner there and decided to just keep taking it down on the apron and be safe and merge back in when things were a little bit safer there. So good decision by the 24 there.
Yeah, definitely a good decision, as we'll see how far it's going to hurt him. He's back in ninth place right now, but he's got help from Jim Walton in the 27, so I don't think it's going to affect him too much. He has someone to work with. Plus, he's not that far off the draft anyway, so I don't think he is going to lose too terribly much. He should be able to keep back up here. But Randy Post, again, was up there at the front, never officially led a lap, but he has fallen back to 8th place because of being stuck out on that outside lane, in the third lane that is, and nobody else really trying to do anything. However, there's your second group, as I want to point out here. I guess technically, I'd say they're the second or third group. Back there with John Bombard, Chase Gowan further back, Jeffrey Meyer in here, and Dan Harrington. So from 13th to 15th, kind of their own little group with only 3, not as big as the last group that we normally see back there.
I wanted to make a point there to your previous thing about 24 falling back, and you were talking about those cars got back a little bit. A lot of times where you see those 3 cars in that separate pack back there, that can actually be an advantage. You got about 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds that you can be back and still catch some draft. And what happens is you start sucking up that pack in front of you. and you actually catch them faster. So when you get to them, you have more speed when you come from a gap like that, as long as you can get organized and not fall off and actually catch enough of that grab. And you can shoot by them. I mean, it's a great way at the end of the race to get a run and try a third row or something like that to make a move and shoot by some guys, kind of the slingshot by or something like that. So, we had that. We saw the 24 suck right back up, but, sometimes that can be a strategy.
Yeah, it very well can be a strategy, and that could be what they're doing here. To be that far a little ways back this early, it probably is. It would take quite a bit to get that far separated. Daniel Holloway, though, just led his second lap, so he is another leader here. So far, caution-free, 62 laps to go. 5 different lead changes, 4 different leaders, as we've had Warren, Champion Holloway, and Tiller have led laps. Right now, Warren out front, Holloway second, Champion third, Tiller is back in 19th. So 3 of the people that have led are up front. Tiller currently 1 lap down, so that's kind of a disappointment. But again, he still has a chance to get that lap back. And even though you're a lap down at this track, you cannot say the race is over. He very well could still win this thing.
Yeah, Tiller was unfortunately leading the race when the outside row got that run there, and Chase Galvin tried to follow Gary Champion down as Gary Champion came back down to control the inside line, and just lost sight of the fact that Tiller was down there. So I'm sure Tiller just needs caution here, maybe catch a lucky dog, fix some damage, and he'll be right back up in that mix.
Yeah, definitely can. And you're starting to see people start to, we call it snaking, where they're going back and forth. I can pretty much say with about 90% accuracy here, they're not trying to make this 3 wide, not at this point in the race. What we've talked about it before, that snaking you're seeing isn't a 3 wide or an aggressive move to try to go and pass someone. That is 2 reasons, and you brought this up just a few weeks ago, is 1, the air. They need to get some fresh air on that radiator, and 2, especially with these trucks, as we talked about it earlier, is you cannot see a thing in front of you. So you've got to be getting out there and peeking out so you know what's coming.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what your ability is right now with your internet, Charles, but if you can go on board it like Randy Post and look at a helmet view or a cockpit view, you'll see exactly what he sees. He's got a big old spoiler in front of him. He's got a wall that he's going by about 200 miles an hour on the outside. He's got a row of cars on the inside, and so if you're driving in that, it's really hard to find a landmark to keep it straight. And then you got that truck right in front of Randy Post is just kind of wiggling ever so slightly because he's going against the same thing. And so you start staring at that truck in front of you, and everybody's moving around out there a little bit, and that's where we start talking about the staking, because when the guys start moving around a little bit, it seems to get bigger and bigger movements towards the back, and it gets real hard on that outside line. On the inside line, these guys can look at that yellow line a little bit easier and kind of have a landmark. But on this inside, or the outside line where like Randy Post is right now, you struggle to find something that's steady that you can watch so you can keep the truck straight.
Yeah, it definitely is a struggle. We rode on their board with Randy Post. Now we've jumped over here to Mitch Beaver in the 25 to see what you were talking about there. As you can see, you have that yellow line, so you have like a guide, showing you where you need to be, because you want to keep it as low to that yellow line as possible. However, you don't want to go below it, so you have to be really careful of that, because it can shoot you back up the track very easily. It looks deceiving, but if you get too below that yellow line and come back up, it very well can shoot you back up to the track, and that could end your night.
Well, you can get away with it on a straightaway like where they're at now. But if you do it in the corner, there's that transition in the banking. So down there below the yellow in the corner is still flat, and then you got all this banking on the track. And we've designed these trucks in a way that, aerodynamically, aerodynamics is what's keeping these things planted. So if you get one tire down on the flat surface. You got one set of tires up on the bank surface. All of a sudden, you get a whole bunch of air underneath that truck, but you just lose all your downforce there. As I was watching, Mitch Beaver almost lost it there. He got a little bit loose, went below the line just a little bit like you were talking about there in the corner, and was able to save it. But it doesn't take a whole lot, and the car can just get away from you.
Yeah, they definitely can, and having a few more internet issues there. It's been good for a while. I really think this rain that we're having is affecting our internet here tonight. It is just a bad day here for internet. We're up here watching this front as Scott Warren is still out front. Go ahead and take a quick look here. Your top 5 after 18 laps completed. Well, I'll make that 19 laps completed. It is currently Scott Warren, Daniel Holloway, Gary Champion, Daniel Jackson, and Mitch Beaver. Those are your top 5, at least for this lap anyway. We'll see if that changes, and I'm pretty confident that it will.
Yeah, now Daniel Holloway, too. Let's think about our chase drivers right here. I believe he is our really kind of our only chase driver up front right now. Most everybody else that's kind of been running up front there really hasn't been chase drivers here tonight.
Yeah, it's very strange here. And again, to let everyone know who is here with us, those chase drivers, if you don't know, are Justin Levine, who's in chat but is not here racing tonight for reasons. I'm not sure what those are. Probably maybe the hurricane. I'm not real sure. Or work. Something got in the way there. Chase Galvin, Daniel Holloway, Gary Champion, Daniel Harrington, Daniel Jackson, Jeffrey Meyer, and Brandon Wilson in that order. Those are your chase drivers. So, again, like you said, not many of them in the top here. So, it's very interesting to see that they're not.
Well, we got Daniel Holloway and Daniel Jackson are running in the top 5 right now. But you've got to go all the way down to 11, I think, to Brandon Wilson to see our next chase driver. He's kind of in that further back pack there. I guess that first group, there's 2 cars that are kind of hanging back from the main pack. He's in one of those, so he doesn't really have enough cars to get sucked up to that main group, so not much he can do. And then you got Chase Galvin, and he got into that early incident there with the 112 car. So Jeffrey Meyer's back there in that second big group in 14th place. If this thing goes green like we've done the first 25 laps, it's my chance we go green. Daniel Holloway right now and Daniel Jackson are going to be sitting real good in this chase.
Yeah, they really are going to be sitting really good. And again, once this chase is over, I believe when we're watching this group here, let me get just a look at the schedule here. It is going to cut drastically here from the top 8 is what we're at right now on the 14th of September. The next race is the 21st of September. So there's only this race and one more left. And the next one is top 4 drivers. So 4 drivers going to get cut tonight.
Wow, that is tough on a super speedway. That's a lot of pressure. We said that mistakes you pay big for them, and when you've only got one race for a cut line in a chase here on a super speedway series, man, you just took and just magnified that about tenfold. So one mistake tonight would end your season if you're a chase driver.
Yeah, very good, especially when you're talking about a 3-point difference between first and 8th. And we got the question in chat. Actually, no, I'm not yelling. I left caps on from when I was editing stuff earlier, and I just forgot to turn it off. I would never yell at you, Ashley. And the other question is, what lap are they going to pit on from Mike? To answer that question, honestly, I'm not 100% sure, but I would think here in maybe the next 6 to 8 laps, maybe. I don't know.
Again, we're not doing real good, but we should have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 40 gallons or 40 laps of fuel in these trucks, give or take a couple laps. Somewhere between maybe 36 and 44 is a better estimate, but I would imagine I'd start looking here around 40 or 42. If you're going to just split this up into 2 segments, then maybe you'll see some guys come in as early as lap 37 or 38, but since tires don't really wear here, I don't know. There's a lot of advantage to that. Maybe you just start cutting some deals and start thinking about coming in right around lap 40 or so.
Yeah, you definitely do. As far as what are we going to do when racing ends, I don't know if this league is going to start back up right away. I haven't got I say that. I probably have got a confirmation on that and just can't remember. I'm with Mike. Maybe I should be taking some notes. I do know, however, we have discussed next season, and this league will be back here on Friday night, so I can confirm that when they start back up, we will be back here with this league. We did get that finalized, so it's just really a matter of when they restart, but we will be back in racing again.
Yeah, absolutely. Super speedway racing on Friday nights. What could be better? Really enjoy these guys. Enjoy doing the Race Report broadcast with you too. Mikey Jr., I'm so far behind on chat tonight because there's a lot going on in there. I just got to where Mike said that he was safe, so that's glad to hear there. And I might just have to scroll down to the bottom here and get to real time and miss a whole bunch of that in the middle.
Yeah, just a bunch of talking in there. A lot of good stuff, though, in there. You can always go back and watch it. Speaking of watching, we're watching a really good battle here between Scott Warren and Daniel Holloway, as Holloway was out front there for just a little bit. It looks like he may get him at the line. It's not going to happen. It's going to be the 76 of Scott Warren leading his 11th lap. Holloway's led 9, so the last probably 6 laps, those two have just traded this lead back and forth, and it has been a fantastic run. We talk about teammates doing that, where they will try to dominate the front 2 rows and keep themselves there to where one of them has a good chance of winning. That could be what's going on right now. Is Team Excalibur 76 and the 21 of Daniel Holloway, they are on the same team.
Yeah, well, I'm sitting here looking at the 71 of Daniel Jackson and the 21 of Daniel Holloway. 2 chase drivers. Like you said, we got a cut night. And, these guys are working with each other on that outside line, and have been for several laps.
Yeah, they really have been. Again, that's Scott Warren and Daniel Holloway is taking a look here. We know Daniel Holloway is in it. He is sitting in technically second place, tied for it. Scott Warren, however, is not one of them that is in there. So this is a good way to work with your teammate if you're not in the chase. Whether you are or not, this is definitely a good way to ensure that your teammate gets into that chase.
Well, during that conversation, Daniel Jackson pushed Daniel Holloway all the way to the front. He cleared, moved inside, and then Scott Warren immediately jumped right back up in front of Daniel Jackson up there. So I'm sure Daniel Jackson's wanting to cycle up to the front there and, battle Daniel Holloway there. But looks like he's going to have to push Scott Warren ahead of him, and he did. And Scott Warren should clear him and pull down again. And so now Daniel Jackson, unfortunately, the 411 not close enough to his bumper, so he's going to slide back and let Daniel Holloway slip back up there if he chooses to do so. And I think he will here.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
And, big note here of what's going on. For one, 2 things going on. We have lap cars coming up, and there's a group of them coming up. It's about 4 trucks. So that could change things up a little bit. 2, the more cars that cycle up there and then drop down in front of that inside lane, it's just going to be less and less cars that are on the outside. And then eventually that lane may not have the momentum it needs to get back to the front. At that point, it's going to have to be somebody at the back of the inside lane jumping out there and pushing that outside lane again. And it's just a continuous cycle of doing just that over and over again. And that's what keeps that outside lane with the momentum that it has.
Well, did you say that Daniel Holloway and Scott Warren were teammates?
They are indeed. They are teammates in Team Excalibur.
That explains it, because Daniel Holloway has pushed Scott Warren way out, and he's cleared the outside row. He could actually jump up there right now in front of that 71 and, let that 71 push him. Meanwhile, he'd have Scott Warren out there so far that he'd have to come back to the field a bit. So, I think Daniel Holloway chose not to go to the lead, which is why I was asking that question. But Gary Champion says he'll have none of that. as he jumps up there in front of Daniel Jackson and says, if you guys don't want the lead, I'll take it.
Yeah, definitely he will be more than willing to take it, as he too is one of your chase drivers. So he is somebody that will definitely benefit from getting the lead here, as we are now on lap 31 of 75. Let's go ahead and take a look. 45 laps to go. We are caution free so far, as you predict. We predicted earlier. Pit stop should be coming up here in about 7 laps, maybe 8 laps, just depending on when these guys come down. So I'm not sure on 100% on this, but I think this is probably the first time we've gone caution free this long here in this series.
It absolutely is, and it's not a coincidence that this is probably the smallest field we've had here too tonight. So, easy to get spread out. You're not sitting back there in 35th thinking, oh my gosh, I got to try some crazy move to get up to 20th. And I think that plays a lot of it. We talked about that in the pre-race show. Not only do you get spread out faster or more likely to get spread out, it's not nearly as hard to go from the back to the front when you've got a half a field of cars like we've got tonight. And so, there's not a lot of, not as much chance taken, I think, earlier here. We can wait a little bit longer. We feel comfortable waiting until 20 to go, 15 to go, to work from 20th place up to first. Whereas if we're trying to come from 35th and we're not getting anywhere, then a lot of times we've got to start trying to make moves a lot earlier than that.
Yeah, you definitely you don't have that feel. What I'm curious about here is coming up here in a second. We're on lap 33. I don't know if we're going to catch them before we go to pit stops. I think we will. Well, you have one car going high, but you have 2 cars trying to work together here. That is Chase Galvin, and I'm not sure who is with him here. We'll take a look. That is the 14 of David Harp. They are on the tail end of the lead lap, and the last 2 on the lead lap right now are at the tail end. So what's going to happen when this group catches them? Because they will catch them here before pit stop happens, and they're together. So are they going to take it high? It looks like they're going to. But again, that's not a rule. It's just kind of a courtesy thing, and I wondered how they were going to get around them, but it looks like they're going to take it up high.
Well, it's a rule if you don't want to cause a wreck. Yeah, they'll take it up high. They got 2 cars. They should be able to dip down a little bit low here, maybe get a little bit of side draft and then latch onto the back of this front pack. But being that their lap's down already, they may not want to be that aggressive and might not mind falling back to that second group there. And, of course, I was watching later, so I didn't get to see if they latched on or not. Looks like they did. They were able to latch on Chase Galvin in that second row, but the 14 is still up there opting to ride the wall right now, and he is going to tuck down behind Chase.
Yeah.
Looks like Chase got a little bit of damage there on that rear spoiler too, so not sure how that's affecting him. Probably slowing him down a little bit and making it even harder to latch onto this group, but I think he's got him.
I was shocked that the 14 didn't come down more quickly. I don't think they're going to lose this draft. I think they got in time here that they will save it. Another thing I want to point out, back up to the front here, this field, look how well, again, you've got about 8 cars on the bottom and about, 3 going on 4 on the top, and they're actually hanging with them here. So I'm very impressed with the 27, the 54, and I believe that is the 411 of Eric Green. That those 3 cars, not so much, they've kind of fallen off now, but they were hanging up there with the lead, for the lead there for a while, with just those 3.
Well, it all comes down to how close you guys get, right? So if you look at our inside row, we're not tucked up. They're cruising, right? They're Gary Champion is not on Daniel Jackson's bumper, and Scott Warren has got a half a car length between him and Gary Champion. So they're just cruising around right now. Now, if they feel that the outside row gets a run and they want to tighten that up, they can in a hurry. They'll get going. But if you look on the outside row now, look how close those guys are to each other's bumpers, those 3 cars there. They're a lot closer, and that row's going faster. It's moving forward. Randy Post is kind of right up out there on the 411 of Eric Green on his bumper. And now we see Scott Warren starting to close that gap, and you see that inside row making progress here again.
Yeah, and you've talked about it. The closer you can get to somebody, you obviously don't want to hit them, but the closer you can get to them, the more air it's going to take off the back of yours and then the back of the one behind you. So you really want to be as close to them as you can. You've talked about it that in depth in the past. Like you said, that's the reason why. The closer you can get, the better the draft works. It's just like a lot of drafting. Anytime you can, the closer you get, the better it works.
Well, one of the comments you said is you don't want to hit them. I mean, that's right, but that's also wrong. And that's where the teammates really come into play, the guys that have run with each other. And we got a caution out here. We'll have to come back to that. It looks like maybe Jason Papp was in the green flag pit stops. I'm not sure if somebody wrecked pitting, but they were starting to cycle in green flags.
They were. John LeBombard was stopped on the track here, so we'll go back and take a look. I'm not sure what was going on. He stopped there. I'm wondering if he was trying to get to pit road as well.
Yeah, I think we had looked like the 50 car there of Jeffrey Meyer, one of our chase drivers, I think, was trying to come in and got his car loose. He cut down pretty fast onto that inside apron, and it looked like he just got loose.
It did. If you go back and watch, he opted to go to pit road at the very last minute. And watch the 95. Those two actually get together. As we're going to go back and look at this again. The 95 actually barrel rolled his truck after getting contact with the 50.
Well, the 95 had to lock up his brakes, so the 50 of Jeffrey Meyer came down onto that apron there to go to pit road, and he just came down with too sharp of a turn. And when he tried to straighten it out, the rear end got a little loose on him. And then the 95 of John LeBombard, because he started sliding in front of him, had to lock up his brakes. And as soon as he did, his car turned to the right and shot right out to the wall. So, we've talked about pitting, at super speedways in a group, because you have to pit in a group. Man, that's tough to do. And we see right here exactly why and what happens.
Yeah, it definitely did. And Mike, yes, that roll bar did its job and made for a really good camera view, too, as we went on board with him. But everybody's coming down pit road right in the pit fuel or pit window here. So, for the ones that, came down, this is a really good timing for that caution to come out for these guys.
Yeah, we were just starting to cycle on the green flags. It's probably really good if anybody actually completed their pit stop ahead of and got out on time and didn't go a lap down. And I'm not sure if we did have anybody. I think those guys were our first guys pitting. No, we had Brandon Wilson in the 501. And I think Dan Harrington in the 82, who may have already completed their pit stops, in which case they might just cycle up front.
Yeah, definitely will as they will cycle here. We'll see. Currently, they are being shown. It's still Randy Post that's your leader. So we'll see if these guys cycle around. I know there were some cars that had just hit pit road, but I don't think they went a lap down. But apparently they did, because Brandon Wilson is being shown at the tail end of the lead lap right now.
Yeah. Same with Dan Harrington. So, Dan Harrington is a lap down. I think you're right. A little surprised that they actually went a lap down. Something else happened. I think we missed it. There may have been some of these cars up front here that were already cycling in, like Randy Post and Eric Green, and some of these guys may have already been on their way into the pits when that came out.
Yeah, I think they were. And so we are under caution here for the first time. So being under caution here, it's going to take a little bit. So we are going to step away here to a quick commercial break. We will be right back here in just a few moments. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
Had to cut There's nothing you can do, and I'm gonna run all over you. It's too late to try, there's nothing you can do. I'm gonna run all over you. I'm looking for new blood, and nothing's gonna stop me now. Yeah, I'm looking for new blood, and nothing's gonna stop me now. Nothing's gonna stop me. Looking for new blood.
All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like the lights should go off this time by, and I'm not sure what happened back here in the field, as we had some chaos going on back here, some cars weaving all over the place. But we didn't get a chance to look at that. We just saw it out of the corner of my eye. But we are here on lap 41, as Randy Post having some connection issues there, as he will be your race leader when we go green here on lap 41. 35 laps to go. We are past the halfway point now here of the 75 scheduled to go. We'll see who will come out victorious. It's anybody's guess and anybody's race to win or lose, as it is right now your top 10 drivers, as we'll go ahead and pull that up real quick. As we'll do it here. There are your top 10 drivers as of right now. It is Randy Post, Eric Green, Gary Champion, Scott Warren, Jim Walton, Daniel Jackson, PJ O'Leary, Daniel Holloway, Mitch Beaver, and Jody Burton. Those are your top 10 drivers as the lights are off on the pace car, and we're getting ready to go green this next time by. Oh, it definitely should be a great racing here. Again, we've only seen one caution so far in this race, and that was just a few moments ago. We'll definitely be watching to see if we have a lot of more cautions or no more cautions. We will be watching for that.
Now that we're grouped back up, Charles, I'd say there's a good chance we will definitely have some more cautions, although I think we can pretty safely say with about 35 laps to go, if we don't, these guys have enough fuel. And I do want to point out that the 27 and Jim Walton, should we go green again, it looks to me like he did not take tires out there, not right sides or nothing. So he and 83 at Jason Pat, we'll have to see how that works out. I think it'll work out just fine, but it's worth watching.
Yeah, we'll have to watch that real quick before they go racing again. We want to remind everyone, if you're new here tonight, definitely hit that thumbs up button if you like the race, as always, and hit that subscribe and bell to be notified of all upcoming races here on VRN. We are off tomorrow night. It's Saturday. We're going to go Well, I say party, probably just sleep, but still, we're going to take the day off here to recoup from the week of racing. We'll come back Sunday night as green flag is back in the air. We are racing once again. We have 34 laps to go before this race comes to an end. We are over the halfway point, and it has been a pretty good one, especially up here for this front group.
Well, it's been pretty calm so far. These guys really have just, kind of tucked in and driven. We haven't had anything crazy yet. Again, I think with a little bit smaller field here tonight, we're probably going to see them waiting a little bit before we start getting into a whole lot of three wide and probably some more caution. So maybe they can get spread back out again here first, and have to see if that happens.
I will definitely be watching to see what happens. Will they get spread out? Will they stay together? This time around, so far, we do have a lot more cars up here. They haven't got separated just yet. Chase Galvin, though, one of our chase drivers, already starting to fall off a little bit, and we got him going three wide right in front of him, and there goes a wreck as we have several cars. Caution is out, and it is going to be TJ Buck involved in this, as well as the 112 and the 41 getting involved. So let's go back and take a look.
Yeah, I think we just had a few cars maybe get caught in no man's land there. I think we had two cars there, the 50 and the 84, both thinking about taking it three wide in the middle at the same time when they saw that gap open up. And just two cars, same idea, same time, coming from two different directions. It ends up spinning out a few cars.
It does indeed, as we're down here watching to see. There it goes right there. The 84 comes down, and it was just chaos from there. Chase Galvin missing it barely. Oh, and the 83, I believe that is. I think it's the 83. Hell, we can find him. Dan Harrington got a piece of it as well. There it is, the 83 that you were talking about of Jason Papp. Thought he had it cleared, but just right into the middle of it. Nowhere to go, and that brings out our second caution very quickly right after the first one. So you said it there. Unfortunately, cautions breed cautions. These guys know as well as we do that we're past the halfway point, and it really intensifies the racing.
Well, you had a chase driver in the back there, Jeffrey Meyer, who just was the one that had the accident getting on the pit road. And, he found himself, I think, a lap or two down there and was probably trying to figure out, hoping, maybe even thinking he had to drive one back. I don't know. But, we talked about a lot of these guys maybe not feel like they were needing to be aggressive yet. But without knowing or talking to Jeffrey Meyer, knowing what he was thinking, I'm going to guess that he's got a little bit more reason to be aggressive here. As a chase driver, sitting laps down in the second half of this race, he needs to get up front. And I think somebody else had the same idea at the same time.
Yeah, definitely had the same idea. Again, this is kind of time here. You need to get up to the front if you want to get there. I still think you have plenty of time to do it. You still have 32 laps to go, so I think they had enough time to get up there. But, it's easy for us to say they have enough time to do it when we're sitting here and, I'm sitting in an air-conditioned room here in front of my monitor. I know you say it gets pretty hot in your booth, so either way, we're sitting nice and comfortably, hopefully. They're inside these cars, and, we've talked about this before, but when you're out here, especially racing, side by side, three wide at nearly 200 miles an hour, while it is a sim, it is still very intense and very stressful. And you being on the racer side can confirm this, that there has been times that you get done with the race and you're just exhausted and dripping in sweat.
Well, when you're out there driving around and you're in the sim and you're doing the 200 miles an hour now, I will say, some guys use triple greens, some guys use a single screen. I use virtual reality goggles, and the immersion just kicks in for me. I forget that I'm just sitting in an air-conditioned room. I'm looking outside windows. I'm literally looking at cars. I mean, the heart's pounding. The shoulders are tense. The arms are tensed up. I've got death grips on the steering wheel. So for me, all that's going on, like you said, I've moved everything I've got into an upstairs room with a south-facing window. So it does get hot up here, with my afternoon heat. But Then you throw on your VR goggles on top of that. And yeah, I mean, I'll finish a race like this and literally just be just soaked in sweat. I usually have water bottles next to me, and I can go in a race like this, 200-mile race like this, through about probably about 2 30-ounce water bottles in one of those races. I'm sweating so much.
Yeah, and Mike in chat saying they don't have ACs where you're at. I have wondered that. I have heard Jeff when he gets done with a race sometimes, and you can literally hear this is not figurative. This is literally, you can hear the exhaustion in his voice where he is just dead tired from some of these tracks, especially ones little short tracks like Bristol or Martinsville. I've heard it in his voice when I've gone to interview him. And somehow he still manages to give him a Grammy speech out of all that. But that's another story for another time. Maybe we'll do it behind the scenes or something and talk to Jeff about his Grammy speeches he does. But right now, while that caution did come out, Eric Green actually took the lead before the caution came out, bumping Randy Post to second, which will put him on the outside. So we'll see if he can get back by there. But nobody is out of this race. I want to point that out, that not a single driver is out of this race right now. There are some drivers here that are multiple laps down. It's going to be 20 to go at the line. Or 30 to go, sorry, not 20. I cannot count apparently. But just to update right now, we have 14 cars on the lead lap. David Harp is the last one on the lead lap. Dan Harrington is currently 1 lap down. TJ Buck 1 lap down. John Bombard and Harry Tiller, Jeffrey Meyer, and Daring Manning are 2 laps down. But as far as the race goes, over half this field is on the lead lap, and everybody that started this race is on track right now.
Yeah, and just catching up here on chat again, just to answer a couple questions. Yes, Mike, I do have AC, but in this upstairs room, with all these computers and monitors shoved in here, I got 2 computers in this room, 4 monitors, steering wheels, pedals, and and it's an upstairs room, so it probably runs about 10 degrees hotter in this room than anywhere else in the house. Next question: can I race on monitors? Absolutely. Most people I know race on 3 screens. They use triples, but there's plenty of guys that even race on single monitors. I use VR. So I broadcast now. I'm walking out to monitors, but when I race, I've got VR goggles on, and Justin Levine may have the best setup there. He's got that looks like that nice Samsung 49-inch ultra wide curve monitor that runs you about $1,000 or $1,500 there.
Yeah, definitely would be nice to have a TV like that. I run on 3 monitors myself. Of course, it doesn't matter what monitors or, goggles or whatever you have, VR. If you're racing with a mouse, it really doesn't matter because you're going to stink anyway. So I recommend, obviously, getting a wheel. And the thing is, we got a lot of people that always ask us, what do I need to get into iRacing? You don't need VR. You don't even need anything but 1 monitor, to be honest. So a monitor, I definitely recommend a wheel and pedals. You can actually do it with a mouse or a controller, Xbox controller, but I highly recommend investing in a wheel and pedals. It's almost a must here. While there are some people that do it with gaming controllers, you can get a wheel. I wouldn't say cheap, but not expensive. You don't need no Fanatec wheel. Honestly, and you can probably confirm this or deny it, but a lot of these guys in here prefer like a G27, the older ones, or the G29 over some of these Fanatec wheels.
I've seen that. I've got a G29 that's sitting in a box in the basement right now because I got the Fanatec wheel out and clamped up here. So I like, to go back to your comment, absolutely you can race with those. Are they better? I don't think so. That's a personal opinion. I do agree with you. While you can use a controller, you don't want to use a controller. It's just, first of all, you can't race like this. You just can't have the level of precision with your throttle and your steering inputs that you would need to do super speedway racing. And you spend a lot more time getting yelled at out on the track than you do. So, but you can get, even if you join iRacing in the forums, there are people giving away steering wheels and pedals and things like that, older ones. So not hard to come by one. Is there an advantage to using goggles? I think so. Some people don't. I like the fact that no matter where I look, the world adjusts. If I look out the side window, turn my head to the left, I'm looking out the driver's window. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of different setups and combinations you can use. A lot of different ways to do it. We got forums here in the iRacing for the members there, and there's threads upon threads of guys arguing about which one's better.
Yeah, there definitely is. I know I've thought about putting mine up for sale as I don't use it anymore, but I keep hanging on to it because you never know when you're going to want it. I may have to go show them Northwest boys how it is on dirt again and come in fourth fastest and still say I came in first, but that's again another story for another day. What we do have here, though, on the racing thing is the lights are off here. We're getting ready to get this thing going once again to start lap 48.
Yeah, we got Randy Post and Eric Green up there getting ready to lead this thing, and we got two guys that are pretty aggressive and great pushers. Been running up front, Scott Warren and Gary Champion right behind both of them. So I expect to see a little bit of a sporty restart here.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a really good restart. The question is here, will we see a clean restart? Sometimes, we haven't seen it too often with this league, but sometimes you get, that a little bit aggressive on the restarts and stuff happens. Someone spins the tires or gets loose or whatever. Again, not necessarily in this league, but it is possible on super speedways. The good reason why you don't see it as much in this one is because it takes a while for these trucks to get going. They can't just hit the gas and hammer. They have more acceleration, they have more speed versus a track like Charlotte where you want the acceleration. So they take a little bit to get going, but when they do, they have the speed.
Yeah, we have a much, much taller gear in these trucks at these super speedway tracks, so we can get that top end speed. And they don't really have that acceleration. So even though we've got some guys out there that are still on the original set of tires, 47 laps on these tires, and chose to stay out there, we should not have a problem with spinning tires on the restarts unless somebody just starts in the wrong gear, that being first gear.
Yeah, you very well could do that. I know you think first, that's where you should start. That's not necessarily the case. Some of these guys start mostly, I think it's in second at this track, maybe third. You can give us more insight on that as the green flag is coming back out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a second gear restart here.
I thought so. There it is. Green flag is out. We're on lap 48. Right there as they cross the line. Lap 48 of 75 underway. We have now seen 2 cautions for 9 laps, 28 laps to go. Keep in mind here, we have had 24 different lead changes. That is more lead changes than we have cars in this race.
Yeah, look at that inside row. Those guys, 76 Scott Warren, literally making contact there with the bumper of the 411. Trying to get him pushed out front. Meanwhile, we've got 27 Jim Walton, who is one of those cars on original tires. Was up tight there pushing. Gary Champion backed off a little bit on that restart, but he sucked right up to the bumper of Randy Post now. And we got 3 cars there running pretty tight on the outside, 4 cars on the inside. So the inside's still prevailing. But if they get a little bit of a breather here, that outside could get some momentum because those 3 guys are really pushing it up top there.
They are really pushing it here, and the more you push, the closer you get, that chance of a caution goes up and up. You add very few laps to that as well, that percentage goes up. Everything they're doing out there is just upping that chance of a caution coming out and a big wreck happening. So you really want to be clean here. These guys obviously don't set out to have a caution, but at the end of the day, the more aggressive you get, the more chances you see as Chase Galvin's going to take it 3 wide, but nobody's with him, so he is going to be stuck out there. Good news is he is going to be able to get back down, so he's not going to lose any spots.
Yeah, risk reward's kind of been the theme of this broadcast here, or at least that's my theme for the super speedway races. And we got somebody flying back up on the track. I don't know what happened there. Somebody came flying right up there at pit road exit. I thought they were going to take the pack out, but they worked safely there for a second. But back to the whole risk reward thing, it's at that time where if you want any of the reward, you're going to have to take some risks, and that's when things get a little bit hairy around here. So we saw Chase Galvin trying to get something 3 wide. He's a chase driver looking for a way to get back up front there. As you said, we're going to lose 4 drivers tonight, And, we've had Daniel Holloway and Daniel Jackson have been pretty solidly up front most of the night. But Daniel Holloway now back in 14th spot. You've got Chase Galvin in 10th spot. You got Brandon Wilson in 11th spot. We know Jeffrey Meyer's having a rough night there in 19th spot. So I'm not sure who I'm missing there on our chase drivers, but most of them seem to be right around 11 to 15th spot there.
Yeah, the highest one is Gary Champion, who's in third. So definitely a good run for him. So I'm not sure. I think Daniel Jackson.
I think.
Yeah, he is and sitting in 6th place.
So you got back there, you got Brandon Wilson, Chase Galvin in 10th and 11th spot, and then you got Daniel Holloway in 14th spot. And those three guys right now would be battling for what would appear to be 2 spots. So I think it might get a little bit exciting back there here in a little bit with Daniel Holloway, Chase Galvin, and Brandon Wilson all running so close together back there.
Yeah, it did. And again, it's going to be good. And hopefully last week they did get us those 8 drivers very quickly. That was Ted doing that. Ted is not here. I believe he is sick. So that's unfortunate for one of the league owners here that is sick. So hopefully if Mitch is out there watching, he'll be able to get us this. However, Mitch, I believe, is on the track. There he is. He's got that special paint job sitting in 8th place right now. So this could get iffy. Maybe he'll be able to get us those top 8 or top 4 before we are done with the post-race show. But he'd like to be in it himself. He's not in it, but he's up there battling with these guys pretty good here. And what I really find awesome here is looking those front 2 rows. Both of the cars on that front 2 row are patriotic paint jobs.
Yeah, and I got some bad news to report here. When I told you I saw a car look like they were shooting up from pit road, that was actually Daniel Holloway. He had some contact from, looked like the 4th car, one of the black cars on the outside row. I could not get a number that knocked him down onto the apron, and by the time he got it back up on track, pretty much lost the pack. So Daniel Holloway is off the draft, needs a caution to catch up. And, just a victim of some contact that didn't look like it was his own doing there.
All right, and apparently we're just getting a message from Ted, who is sick in bed. He said as soon as it's over, he will get us the top 4. He's watching in bed right now. He'll jump on Dan Lisa. So good to see that while he is sick, he's still watching the broadcast. So we will have our top 4 before the race is over.
Yeah, and I was a little dismissive with that bonus point earlier, but with the cut line after one race, 4 guys getting cut, boy, that was a little bit short-sighted by me, because right now that bonus point for Chase Galvin and Daniel Holloway looking pretty huge.
Yeah, looking very good. That bonus point may save him, as we'll see. Again, I had known it, but I wasn't paying too close attention. I was thinking the chase was a couple races, but it is indeed next week. Next Friday is the championship race, so that will determine who your champion is. So I believe it's 12 weeks, so it was a very short season. To be honest, it seems like we just got started here not long ago, and this season is already coming to an end, as next Friday we will crown a champion.
Yeah, and looking at that 21, Mike, he does have some damage. There was contact from a car in the outside row that knocked him off the track, so he's got some damage to that right side. Right now, the 21 is going to need a caution if he's going to get back in this race, or even probably advance in the chase. He needs a caution, needs not to be a part of it.
Yeah, and that's the key. You don't want to be a part of the caution. You just want it to come out here. And the more we tick off laps, we'll bring up your caution chart one more time. 21 to go. It is going to be 20 to go at the line. But the good news is this is one of those tracks you don't need 10, 15 laps to try to get up there and gain a position. You really only need 5, as you can gain a lot of spots pretty quickly. But there it is now, 20 laps to go. Who will come away with the win here? I'm not sure. I'm not even sure we're not done with the cautions yet.
I think we're going to have another caution there. I'm just watching him up front there with Gary Champion trying to get up to that outside row there. Looked like he kind of got stuck in the middle. I wasn't sure if he had it cleared or not there. and it was a little bit of a hairy moment, but he's able to get up top there. And now he goes right back down, and I don't think he was clear there. I think he got into Randy Post on the inside there. Or not Randy Post, whoever's in front of Randy Post, my bad. Might be Daniel Jackson there. So a couple of maneuvers up there, a little bit of contact, and, he's still got 20 laps to go here. So I don't think we're done with the cautions yet.
No, I think really, if anything, they're just about to start to ramp up here. I think, I hate to be the negative one here, but I think we still have 2 more cautions in. As we have the 76 trying to take a 3 wide of Scott Warren, but he ducks it back down. I don't think that was a want to go 3 wide. I think he got a little bit of a boost and didn't want to run over someone and took it 3 wide. But they are really starting to weave back and forth and jockey for position. So I have a feeling we're about to see here a caution in the next lap or 2.
Well, it could be. I don't know. Obviously, we're running a lot tighter. There's a lot more side drafting going on up there in that front pack. We're getting a little bit of snaking going on. We're closer to each other's bumpers. So the conditions are there. The only thing that we're missing probably is more cars. We've got few enough cars and maybe they can run like this for a while. But, if we were looking at the sky, we'd see clouds are building.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a heavy rain, huh?
Yeah, it has been a rainy day here. A lot of crazy weather going on. Someone want to check and make sure there is not a full moon going on tonight as well, just to add the trifecta to it. As right now Gary Champion is out front. He has now led 8 laps. He hasn't led the most, but here comes Daniel Jackson. He may have something to say about that as well. And, for the ones that have been up front, they have kind of cycled back and forth. Nobody stayed up there for very long, as the most laps led was Scott Warren at 14. So nobody has even led 15 laps in this race yet. Yeah,
and I'll tell you, Daniel Holloway probably about 4 or 5 laps tops from going down a lap here. So he's wanting your 2-lap forecast to be pretty true here real quick.
Yeah, I think he is too, and we'll see if it does happen. He'd like to catch up to the rest of this field, so we're going to check there fast. We'll see. He is a little ways off that draft all by himself, and they're going to go 3 wide, and this is a deliberate 3 wide here. We got Chase Galvin. He is going to lead a group here. Looks like the 25 of Mitch Beaver, and I'm not sure who's behind Mitch Beaver. I think that maybe... No, I thought it was a 23. Looks like it is going to be the... No, not the 63. I can't tell what that number is. It's a black number. It looks like maybe the 501 of Brandon Wilson. So it is. So 3 cars on the outside. They're 4 wide.
It's 4 wide, and they're making contact. This isn't going to last long. One way or another, they're going to have to funnel back to 3 wide, or we're going to have a caution here, and they're able to get it back 3 wide. But yeah, they were definitely 4 wide there for a moment, and that's exactly what you want to see if you're Daniel Holloway. You want to see those guys 4 wide.
Yeah, you do. You want to see them, especially the fact that if they're 4 wide, it's probably going to wreck out a few people. Not only do you get to catch up, you also get to gain some position out of it. But I don't know how in the world they made 4 wide work here. That was insane. Obviously, somebody that was in that middle row, their spotter was sleeping on the job, didn't tell them they were already 3 wide. They took it, what they thought was 3 wide, turned out to be 4 wide, and somehow they managed to make it work. They did make contact, but no wreck. That is just amazing.
Yeah, interesting thing was in that top row, we had a couple chase drivers up there. And if I'm following everything right here, and usually I'm not, but with Jeffrey Meyer 2 laps down and Daniel Holloway about to get lapped here, those are your cut line, I think. So if you're up there in that front pack, about the only way you cannot make the cut line here, I believe, would be to possibly have a caution and get these guys back in the race. So I'm wondering if they even know that out there. I'm guessing they don't have all that information, or somebody's not giving that to them. But it might be their own undoing there.
Yeah, definitely. You don't know if they know it. It's got to be in the back of their mind somewhere, but at the same time, you don't want to focus on the points too much. You really just want to get out there and race. It is unfortunate that Daniel Holloway just did go a lap down. That is unfortunate for him, but he's still 1 lap down. If we got a caution now, he could get the wave round, get the lucky dog. He's the first one to lap down right now. So a caution is what he wants to see. But on the flip side of that, I do want to point out too that now he is right next to this group. So if they wreck, he has a chance of getting involved in it. So now he'd have to get the caution and play the avoid game to avoid getting involved in it.
Yeah, he definitely wanted that caution to happen before the pack caught him, but he is in that front pack, was able to latch on, so he is the car that would get the lucky dog as long as he's not involved in the caution when it comes out. And being up there and being in that draft, he's going to have a chance, actually, if he chooses to get aggressive there, to possibly even drive that lap back. And, I keep thinking I got a handle on these points, but if we remember, Daniel Holloway is a point ahead of some of those guys. So there may be a tiebreaker that comes into play here if he finishes 1 position, behind those guys. I'm not sure that he could do that as a lap down right now, but just something else to consider if one of these guys has a wreck and falls back to the last car in the lead lap, and Daniel Holloway being the first car lap down, I would assume that then we'd have to have some sort of tiebreaker because he does have that extra bonus point.
Yeah, so many things going on here tonight. Again, just the sheer fact that next week's the championship week, Final 4. It'll just as amazing how it seems like we just started here, and here we are at the championship round coming up next Friday night. And, what else is surprising? Only 2 cautions. Again, there are fewer trucks out here racing, but still only 2 cautions. I don't think we're done with the cautions, but here we go, 11 to go, and we have so far not seen another one. Really, the 4 wide, I thought we were about to see one there, but it didn't come out. So if they can do that and not have a caution, we may be caution-free the rest of this race.
Yeah, we got 21 and Daniel Holloway there, and the 7. They were looking like they were trying to get up there on the 3rd line, so looks like Daniel Holloway is going to try to drive that lap back here if the opportunity presents itself. And then, like you said, as this is winding down and we're getting down here to, 10 laps to go or so, even these non-chase drivers that aren't out here, most of these, we got a lot of guys that aren't in the chase, and they're only here for one reason, that's to win this race. And it's time to start making your moves if that's what you're here for. So plenty of opportunity for a caution yet, and I think things are about to get heated up here.
Yeah, they are definitely about to get heated up, as there it is, 10 to go, and there's the caution out.
There it is.
And who?
21 got caught in it.
That's what we were afraid of. We didn't want to happen. Let's go back and take a look. It's exactly what you didn't want to happen, as I think he was just an innocent bystander here. Let's take a look here.
Absolutely. It looked like the 25 went down on the inside line and caught the 411 and just turned. I'm not sure what was happening there. If he just, I really don't know. It looked like he just drove it right down into the guy on the inside line, and it turned him and shot him right up into the 21.
Yeah, that's what it looks like from here, too. Let's go back here. We were on with the 21. Let's go back to the 25 of Mitch Beaver and go back and watch this. And let's go on the board here with Mitch Beaver real quick. As it switched over there to the wrong driver, we're going to try to get back real quick. There it is. We're riding on board with the 25 of Mitch Beaver. Thanks to T&D Rustic Decor for the onboard camera. And we're seeing here, not sure, hasn't done anything yet. We're coming into the start finish line, and looks like it's going to happen here very shortly. It happened in turn 1 right there. Just gets into his back quarter panel, and nowhere for Daniel Holloway to go.
Yeah, and that is very unfortunate for Daniel Holloway, but I don't know how much damage he got. I'm pretty sure he has to pit. I don't think there is a yeah, he's got too much damage. He's going to have to pit. But, we're going to group all these guys back up, and there's a good chance that we'll get another caution. So if he's got a fast repair, he'll get a burn it. And with everybody starting back up and so few laps to go, Odds are we'll see another caution. Maybe there's an opportunity for Daniel Holloway to get back in this thing.
Yeah, definitely hope he can. And we'd like to use the blimp cam. I know Mike was wanting the sky cam. With this particular track, it's just so far away. We were actually going to have to try to get some custom cameras for this track, as for some odd reason we don't have any. There never has been, so we're going to have to make those ourselves and call it like the rec cam or blimp cam, because the blimp cam here is just way too far away, unfortunately, to see anything. So that's why we don't use it too much here. But right now it is 9 laps to go. Ayers 8 laps to go. PJ O'Leary in that 24 is your race leader. 30 laps on the stint here. I'm not sure. You think anybody's going to come down pit road and get fresh tires? And I'm thinking not.
I think the 21's gonna.
Well, yeah, the 21 I think will come down. Mitch Beaver coming down as well. Obviously, he was involved in that. So if you're involved in the wreck, you come down for sure. As far as everyone else, I don't think they're going to.
Yeah, I think it depends. If I'm at the back of that front pack, maybe I'd consider it. I think if I'm up front, I'm going to try to keep some track position. I don't think tires matter that much, but if I'm trying to figure out how to get up to the front from further back, I might not be afraid to put some tires on and see if that doesn't help me make a few more aggressive moves.
Yeah, they very well could be. Some fresh tires may help you here. Maybe give you that edge that you think you need, or just, I don't know. Will they help? Maybe just a little bit. Compared to 30 laps, it's just so iffy if they really will here. But since we are under caution, I kind of need to get myself a drink here. I've been talking for quite a while. I'm sure you have. So we're going to step away to a quick commercial break, and we will be right back here in just a few moments.
I spent my whole life chained to the wall, hungry for more, not afraid to fall. Had to cut a man down to get where I am, but someone had to tumble and someone had to stand. Don't try to fight, there's nothing you can do. I'm gonna run all over you. Too late to try, there's nothing you can do. I'm gonna run all over you. I'm looking for new blood, and nothing's gonna stop me now. Yeah, I'm looking for new blood, and nothing's gonna stop me now. Nothing's gonna stop me. Looking for new blood.
All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're trying to decipher the point standings here as we go. And, we may be under caution, but I still think it's impressive, as we were just talking about this during the commercial break. Justin Levine, 21st, just came in here 59 laps down, got to his computer, got into the race. Most importantly, he's typing in chat, too, while on the track racing. I can barely broadcast and eat a slice of pizza at the same time, and I'm not even driving, much less race and type in the chat at the same time.
Yeah, clearly they don't have any texting and driving laws where he's at right now. If you think it's hard to do it 55 miles an hour, try doing it at 170.
Yeah, definitely not something I'd want to do. It's just not something I'd do. You got to be skilled enough as it is to do that, much less doing it at nearly 200 miles an hour. So very impressive there. And we'll see if that secures himself into a spot in the chase, as he will get 21st place points now, at least. Unless there's another big wreck that takes some drivers out, and they would have to be way out, and obviously they'd have to... Well, there's no way. I don't know what I'm thinking. There is no way. 59 laps down, he doesn't have a chance. I don't know what I was thinking. But regardless, he's got 21st place points.
Yeah, that sounds like my chase scenarios as I start rolling around my head and talking about them, then realizing how out of whack I am. But speaking of chase scenarios here that I've been rolling around, with Daniel Holloway 1 lap down at 14th, unless he can get in onto the lead lap here, so he's probably going to need a wreck. I think the best he could finish right now is 14th, which means Brandon Wilson in 9th, who is 1 point behind in the standings, probably just has to finish 12th or higher. With Daniel Holloway staying on the lap down cycle to get in the chase. However, should we get a wreck, Daniel Holloway currently stands as the first car lap down. Good chance if he can avoid that wreck, he would get back on the lead lap, and then he would have a couple lap shootout after that, in which possibly to take a shot there at getting ahead of Brandon Wilson. But right now, Brandon Wilson and Daniel Holloway are the cut line, I believe, with Brandon Wilson being in and Daniel Holloway being out.
Yeah, and I don't want to throw a wrench into that whole plan at all, but I think I'm going to. Will Daniel Holloway get a lap back if we have a caution? Because we are going to be going green here with 5 to go, which means we won't go racing again. So will he still get the lucky dog?
And that's why I said my scenarios are usually half-baked, and and they sound all good until I stop talking. So with 5 to go, I don't know. I think we might need I think just about what have to happen on this restart, and I don't even know if we'd go green again. I think that's iffy.
Yeah, that would be a iffy there. I don't think we would, but then again, sometimes my my scenarios are not all the way the same either. So we'll see. What we do know is a fact, and that is that the green flag is coming out this time by, as it's just moments away from coming out, as they are getting nice and bunched up. Will we see a caution here? I don't think so. Green flag is out. 6 laps to go here at Talladega Super Speedway. Here it is now, 5 laps to go. If a caution comes out, this race is over, and we'll have to sort the points out. But I think it's going to be some green flag racing. If there's going to be a caution, it may be at the very end here as people are coming to the line.
I don't know. Look at that inside row. They are literally welded together there on those front bumpers. Scott Warren is just pushing Daniel Jackson way out there right now. We got Randy Post also there on the inside. And meanwhile, it looks like we're getting a little bit of shuffling up there and possibly some 3 wide.
Yeah, we are getting some 3 wide, especially a little further back. I want to point out Chase Galvin here. We'll pull his information up here. Started 4th. He's down to 5th, but he is still hanging in there. He's been a lot further back than that throughout the night. He is fighting his way back. He is not out of this, considering where he's been in this race. He is right up there battling.
Yeah, we got the 71 and the 54 just kind of got left there on the inside row. So we'll see if somebody can fill that up, or they're going to lose spot there with that big gap between them and the rest of the cars there. As my camera switches on me automatically, so I can't see what's going on. There we go. Looks like it got covered up for us.
Yeah, it definitely did. And they're 3 wide back here in the back, but that really isn't a whole lot. I don't think that's... those guys are not close enough, I don't think, to make anything happen right now. It's going to be 3 to go at the line. And for the first time here all night, in the closing laps, really the inside line has everybody and nobody wanting to go to the high side. Chase Galvin debating it, as well as it looks like the 24. Everyone's thinking about it, but nobody's really wanting to commit to it, as Chase Galvin kind of fakes out the 24 P.J. O'Leary, and it pushes him to the high side and then squeezes back down into his spot.
Yeah, I think Chase Galvin's a little bit of torn between trying to win this place and secure a spot in the chase, as it looked like he was trying to fake out the 24 there so he could duck behind his teammate there and try to push him on that inside line.
As far as fake out goes, I think he was pretty successful with it too, but he definitely did what he needed to do. However, the downside of that is I think he may have been doing that to try to fake the 24 out, but here is the 24 going for the lead now, so I think the 24 may have benefited from it.
Well, I think the 24 was going to go there regardless, and you got Scott Warren on that outside row there, who's a very, very aggressive driver and a great pusher. I mean, he all night long been right up there on everybody's bumper when he's up there with them. So Gary Champion behind him, I know that Gary Champion and Scott Warren are completely capable of making a big run on that outside row. So letting all those guys get lined up there might not be the best way to get a good finish. As Scott Warren and Gary Champion decide to start their own row, take it up top 3 wide with the 24 kind of stuck in the middle, all by himself on what we would call the sucker hole. But he's able to duck back down to that inside row and cover up behind Chase Galvin there.
Yeah, definitely, and that 3 wide turned back into 2 wide because of all that. The 24 was able to go down. One thing to know here, white flag is in the air, 1 lap to go, presented by Northwest Racing Series. No caution will end this race. We are going to finish it out, whether there is a wreck or not, and they're beating and banging back here towards about 15th place.
Yeah, and we got a little bit of a battle there. Gary Champion and Scott Warren lost their help on the outside, so I don't think they're going to be able to push it up there. So the question is can Gary Champion push up to a podium spot or not? I think that's really the final battle as we come down the stretch. Can they hang on and cover up Randy Post? But Randy Post is all over the bumper of Daniel Jackson, giving him a good shot down that straightaway.
He is indeed, and we are locked right onto the front here. I'm not sure who it's going to be at the line. Oh, Big Rick behind him, and it's going to be Daniel Jackson getting the win, as you were reporting on the wreck, and it was a big one behind him. But Daniel Jackson squeaking away with the win for Team Excalibur. And actually, correct me if I'm wrong. Hang on a second here. We got to do some of this. Daniel Jackson, Scott Warren, and so 2 of the 2 here for Team Excalibur, and then Randy Post finishing in 3rd once again. So I know he's not on that team, but I know he's good friends with them. So this should be a good post-race show here with 3 friends finishing 1st, 2nd, and 3rd here tonight.
Yeah, and probably the bigger story is the chase. I know Ted said he was going to get us points right away. But our rough math here, which is very, very rough, by the way, says that I think Brandon Wilson's in and Daniel Holloway, I believe, is out.
Yeah, we'll definitely be looking for those to come in from him very shortly. Meanwhile, we have to go through your unofficial race results. So we have about 23 drivers here total that were in here. Not all of those started, but Jeff, you want to run through our top 10, and then I will bring us home here, and then we'll get to the post-race show.
Absolutely. Your winner tonight, the 71, and the chase driver, Daniel Jackson. Bringing it home in 2nd place, the 76 of Scott Warren. In 3rd place, the 54 of Randy Post. Our 4th place finisher tonight, the 18 of Gary Champion. In 5th place, another chase driver, the 26 of Chase Galvis. That's 3 chase drivers in our top 5 there. Daniel Jackson, Gary Champion, and Chase Galvin. In 6th place, we got the 24 of P.J. O'Leary. In 6th place, in 6th place is P.J. O'Leary. In 7th place is the 63 of Jody Burton. In 8th place is the 501 and the 4th chase driver, Brandon Wilson. In 9th place, we've got the 27 of Jim Walton. And rounding out your top 10 is the 82 of Dan Harrington.
And while it looks like they're out there doing a demolition derby to finish off the race here, in 11th place will be the 14 of David Harp. 12th place will be the 83 of Jason Papp. 13th will be the 25 of Mitch Beaver. 14th place will be the 21 of Daniel Holloway. And 15th will be the 84 of TJ Buck. 16th will be the 411 of Eric Green. 17th will be the 50 of Jeffrey Meyer. 18th will be the 95 of John Bombard. 19th will be the 41 of Darren Manning. And 20th will be the 112 of Harry Tiller. 21st will be Justin Levine in that number 1 machine, who showed up a little late, but he is here to get some points. 22nd will be Dwayne Cooper. 23rd, Alexander Russell, who did not start the race here tonight. And what a race. I know we just had someone in chat say that was race was boring as all get out, basically. I personally think they must have like no pulse if they think that race was boring, because that was anything but boring. So, you know, I guess you can't please everyone. Some people just think a good race is boring. That's unfortunate, but we thank them for coming out anyway. And we're about to get to the post-race show, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back with your top 3 interviews. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen, here with your post-race show. Again, this post-race show is brought to you by Randy's Wraps, and Jeff is about to talk to him. So, Jeff, we are going to hand the mic over to you so you can talk to third-place finisher, the 54 of Randy Post.
Hey, Randy Post, you got a copy there?
Yes, sir, I got you.
Hey, congratulations, man. This is, I believe, your 3rd consecutive trip to the podium. So you seem to be on a little bit of a roll here. Talk to us about these last couple races here real quick, and what's got you running so fast up front here every race?
You know, I start in the back every week pretty much, and I just kind of want to have fun. I'm out here to have fun. I just have a knack, I guess, for avoiding some of the wrecks early on, or some of the slower cars that are trying to get into their position that they want to be, and I just kind of drive through them. I got a great team behind me, got a lot of really good friends behind me. DUI Racing, I want to give them a huge shout out. Eric Green, Chase Galvin, Donovan Ranta, Alex Kinsler. I know I'm forgetting some, but just awesome people behind me helping me do this, and we just can't be we got to be fearless.
Yeah, and speaking of teammates, we were trying to figure out, as far as this series goes, I don't know if you're actually teammates with some of those drivers you run up there, but you did mention some of those guys as being on your other team there. So, are you working with those guys in this race? Does that team extend over to this series, or because it sure looked like you were comfortable working with those guys up front there at the end of that race?
I'm comfortable working with anybody that'll push me, but we do have a lot of guys that are on that team in this league. So Chase, Donnie, Alex, and Eric are all in this league. Eric Green led quite a few laps tonight, actually.
Well, speaking of comfortable pushing, it looked like you and probably Scott Warren were probably the 2 most aggressive pushers up there all night. We talked about guys laying off bumpers and just cruising around, but you guys were probably in that top 4 most of the night, and every time we looked, your bumper was just attached to somebody's pushing them to the lead. So was your strategy to come out here and just be aggressive tonight?
No, I'd rather help. I'd rather help people. I think this is Daniel's first win in this series, and I'd rather see that happen than me get a win, because I can be a little selfish sometimes. So I'd rather help other people.
Well, congratulations. You definitely did a lot of helping tonight. I saw you push several guys up the lead or up front there. So certainly a lot of guys were enjoying running around you here tonight. And with that said, I'm sure you've got some sponsors out there. I know you got a lot of fans out there in chat. A lot of guys rooting for you in chat. Mike Neal, big fan of yours out there. So we'll let you get to your shout-outs there.
All right. I just want to start off by giving a huge shout out to VRN for sponsoring me. I know this week it wasn't on the car because it's the 9/11 Memorial Race, and I wanted to get something done for that. But huge shout out to DUI Racing. I've mentioned their names a couple times already tonight. We're such a tight knit family. It's so cool to have some guys that we all get along with so well that we know we can trust. And it just huge shout out to all the guys in chat that watch this and make this possible.
All right, then. Well, thanks a lot, Randy. Once again, congratulations. Third straight podium finish. Maybe we'll see you next week. And with that said, Charles, we're going to pass it back to you because I think you've caught up with our second place finisher, the 76 of Scott Warren.
I have indeed caught up with him. Scott, congratulations on a second place. And we'll take a look here to see where you're going to get or where you're going to finish. Get all your stats there. So, again, we have been off all day today. We apologize for that. But you started third, finished second, so you gained one spot from where you started. And, of course, you led 15 laps here, coming up a little bit shy. And when I say a little bit, you lost first, or didn't get it first, by .017. So just a heck of a battle here. You almost had it. You think if we'd have had one more lap, you could have got by Daniel?
Yeah, you know what? I'm actually looking at the frame at the finish line, the 71. My teammate Dan Jackson, I'm super stoked for him with my teammate in the 18 pushing me. Got me by looks like about 4 feet, which is about the same height as Dwayne Cooper. So that's pretty cool.
Definitely, it was crazy out there. Just an outstanding race altogether, especially considering this was the next to last race here. We want to pull something up here to check our stats real quick here, so we're going to get rid of that and pull it up real fast. We had only 3 cautions here for tonight's race, so very good as far as cautions go. We did have that wreck there at the end, but overall, very low cautions, only 13 laps. We had 35 different lead changes here tonight. I believe that is a record here. So while the car count started out a little lower, it did pick up towards the end. With 35 different lead changes, we saw just how competitive it was out there. So from your point of view as a driver, how competitive was it on your side of things as far as getting to the front and then going back and getting back to the front and just trading spots back and forth?
Well, that's really well said. Running up front most of the night was in this package was really interesting. When we were in practice, the thing feels like it's up on its toes on the front end, and anything short of dead straight was really wiggly, and not wiggly loose. I mean, the front end just didn't want to get into the track, and it made being the car leading any kind of a bump draft really squirrely. You get any kind of contact in the rear end, and you're going to get out of shape. So guys were timing runs, we were timing runs, we were trying to get our guys cycled through for points and things like that, and so that's a product of that. Being this close, being able to suck up and draft that way, it was stable enough to maintain the truck in the lane that you wanted it to be in, but at the same time it was unstable enough to make it really interesting, and I think keep the racing close. I think everybody was really up on the wheel this week, and I think that's why you saw a lot less cautions. I mean, speaking of cautions, I had my heartbreak last week, and I think this week was Daniel Holloway's week for heartbreak as well. I don't know what the final standings are in terms of moving to the next round of playoffs, but feel feel pretty bad for my 21, my partner in the 2-1 there. He was running up front with us all night as well. So fun race. It was a really fun race, this package on this track with my special FDMY Racing 911 memorial that I put together today for even though I'm a Canadian, I will never forget where I was that morning. I can tell you that much. Really proud to wear this memorial scheme today and race with my boys in Excalibur.
Definitely. I think we all know where we were. I know I was in English class that when it happened, and proceeded to the hallway for that day. That was not what I expected going into that day. We all do remember. That being said, we know you got some sponsors and shout-outs, so who would those be there for that second place finish?
Always got to shout out my fam, my girl Carrie, who watches and listens every week, and best mom on the planet. I'm going to throw that out there as well. My boys in Excalibur, and I got to tell you, I'm really enjoying running in the Car Keepers Super Speedway Series. The admins put on a hell of a race week in, week out, and they keep us in line, they keep us in check, and I like knowing what the rules are out there when we start the race and when we finish the race. It's going to be consistent, called down the line, and I respect the hell out of that, and I look forward to coming back next week and doing some more of that push one of my guys to the win.
Definitely look forward to seeing you there. And as finishing one spot ahead here tonight, as we'll switch over to him, we'll hand the mic over to Jeff. That is the 71 of Daniel Jackson.
Daniel Jackson, congratulations on the win. You got a copy, man?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Well, I'll tell you what, my points math is probably about as bad as it could be. I think we just got word there. I think Daniel Holloway did make it. Brandon Wilson didn't. So I'm still not sure what's going on there. But I do know one thing. You're a chase driver, and you won tonight. So I'm pretty sure I don't even need a slide ruler to tell me you're moving on. Congratulations there. How important was it you to come out and just kind of get things moving along here in this chase and start things off with a win?
Yeah, normally I normally just race like Randy, was saying, stay in the back, work your way through the front, get past the wrecks, But points are so crucial, with only 4 advancing and only having one race. It was like I just needed to get up there, make sure I qualify well, at least lead a lap early on, and try to help all of my other teammates,
Well, I'll tell you what, you're probably one of the most overlooked drivers on the broadcasts because, like you said, you're always up in that mix and you're always helping somebody, but I don't think I see you out front a lot. However, I go back and look, and you have the most top 10 finishes in this league, and not by a little bit. You've also got the most top 5 finishes in this series. And as a chase driver, you're now the points leader, and you just collected your first win. So certainly not going to be overlooked by me anymore. But, yeah, this is we talked about mistakes costing you a lot here. And with 10 starts and 8 top 10 finishes, you're not somebody that makes mistakes often. So how do you balance that in the chase like this? Trying to get out, get that win, race a little aggressively, stay up front versus, staying out of trouble and having, the bad thing come and happen to you that takes you out of the chase.
Yeah, you made a good point there. It's all about, with the top 5s, it's just all about consistency. It's being there at the end, not being too aggressive, getting caught up in the wrecks, It's also great wreck avoidance, keeping your fast repairs. It's tonight was just totally different from what I normally do. I just wanted to be aggressive with it, and hopefully you can overlook me a little bit more so I can go and win next week's race too,
I'll tell you what, we don't want to overlook you because I saw you out there all night tonight. We certainly didn't overlook you tonight, but you were super aggressive out there tonight. Clearly, you know how to run at these super speedways with that many top 10s and top 5 finishes, which is tough to do. And then you go out there, you get aggressive tonight, and you come away with the win. So congratulations. You're moving on. You're leading in points. And I'm sure you got some shout-outs, some friends, family, teammates, sponsors out there that you want to hit up. So rumor has it we're doing some more interviews, so we'll let you move on and get those shout-outs in.
Yeah, well, the first foremost, I mean, I'd like to thank you guys, VRN. You guys do one hell of a job. I like watching the broadcast, especially this one. I will go back and watch every single lap on this, And, I mean, I'd like to give a huge shout out to my team, Justin Levine. He's what got me, pulled into these league races and everything. And Holloway, Scott Warren, Gary Champion, and Jeff Meyer, man, I couldn't ask for a better group of guys to, spend a Friday night racing with. They're good help, throughout the whole race. They don't leave you hanging. Me and Gary was just swapping the league back and forth a lot. I'd like to thank Car Keepers. Well, probably one of the best leagues I've ever been in. I probably won't be going to any other ones. You can't get the good racing and friendships from any other leagues. I also like to give a huge shout out to Randy. If he didn't push me, I wouldn't have even won that race. And Chase helps me out pretty good. So all in all, I'd like to thank everybody that watches the broadcast. My family, Ev and my mom. Is one hell of a way to start the weekend.
Yeah, that it is, and we here at VRN would like to give you guys a big shout out and thank you all for putting on such a great show every week and making us actually look good by giving us so much to talk about. So congratulations on the victory, Daniel Jackson. We will be talking about you next week in the round of, I believe, 4. And right now we'll pass it back to Charles here.
All right, and again, we want to go over your top 4 as we do have those in. It is going to be, of course, Daniel Jackson in your top 4 in first. Second place is going to be Gary Champion taking it in. Third place is going to be Chase Galvin. And Daniel Holloway making it in by 1 point. And we did get word from Ted that the reason Daniel Holloway made it in by 1 point was he got 5 bonus points for the fastest lap. That's the only reason he made it in. So, they give him bonus points for the fast lap, so that is definitely a reason to shoot for that. Definitely we'll be watching those 4 come next week for the championship round. That being said, before we sign off here for tonight, we want to thank all the partners that have came on board here for this season. Of course, carkeepers.com on the racing side of things. If you have a car in need of repairs or maintenance, whatever it be, get a hold of carkeepers.com. And, of course, on the broadcast side of things, we have a lot of partners that have come on board here for 2018, and those include Walls Beard Co., Sim Speed Shop, Northwest Racing Series, Ohio IndyCar League, iBog, and of course Randy's Wraps here coming on recently. So big shout out to all of our sponsors and partners for coming on board here for 2018. We'll see you at the next broadcast, which is Sunday for the RaceCore iRacing Drivers World Series. So stay tuned for that Sunday night. Until then, we'll you keep safe, and hopefully all the hurricane people are keeping safe as well, and we will see you then.